Hi, my name is Diane Schuster, and you're watching one of a series of videos that demonstrate the capabilities of COZYROC SSIS Plus, which is a software suite of tasks and components for SQL Server integration services. These demonstrations were built using SQL Server Integration Services 2005. The COZYROC tasks and components are available for SQL Server Integration Services 2005, 2008, 2008 R2, 2012, and 2014 in both 32-bit and 64-bit editions. For more information, please visit www.cozyroc.com. In this video, we're going to talk about the query component, which you can use to retrieve data from a SQL database by using data flow input columns as query keys. This component comes in a package of tasks and components called SSIS Plus that complements the standard SSIS. Now I'm going to show you how to pass a SQL command to the query component in real time. I'll create this command in the derived column transformation and pass it to query to be executed during runtime. Here's the data I'll be working with. I have some invoice items here that have a processing fee associated with them. I want to separate the processing fee from the item and list it separately on the invoice as a separate item. I'll create two invoice items from each record in this table. For example, for the first item we have small base 2-inch bulb, and the product cost and the processing fee. So the three columns I'll have in my end result will be item, amount, and quantity. So for the first record from the first record here, I'll have the small base 2-inch bulb as the item, I'll have the amount as $1.59, and then I just hard code the quantity of 1. And then I'll also generate a record with the processing fee being the item, the amount being 10 cents, and the quantity again being 1. I've already set up the OLEDB source to read the records from the SQL Server table that I just showed you. Now we'll go take a look at the derived column, and this is where I set up the SQL command that we'll be passing to the query transformation component. And as you can see, we named it create two records from 1. It's easier to look at the command in Notepad. Here you see the first part of the command, which is a select statement that generates the first record. And here's the select statement that's used to generate the second record. And now I'll show you the rest of this column that we set up. And now we'll go configure the query component. And we need to select a database there, even though we're not actually going to be reading anything from it. We're purely acting on records that are passed to us from upstream. And this is how we set up our template to tell the query component which columns we're going to be creating as output. And it will default, as far as the length, to the number of characters that we put between quotes here for each of the columns. Let's check the syntax by clicking the little green arrow, and we'll go look at the columns. So here you can see we created those columns by typing that template. The only mapping that we want to do is from the column that we generated in derived column to the SQL command, the special column over here. But we do want to check the checkboxes for the three columns that are going to be our output, but do not map the rest of the columns. And now we connect the output from query to our Excel destination. And we'll just make sure that's properly configured. Take a quick look at the columns. And there they are again. Now we want to go set up the lengths to what we want it to be. So we right mouse click on the query component and we click on Show Advanced Editor. And we're going to actually override what it's set up for the lengths to what we specify here. So we're going to change this from 5 to 8. For the amount, the item we're going to change to 50, and we'll change the quantity to 3. And we exit from there. We're going to set up a data viewer. And we just go make sure all of our columns are going to show up. It looks good. And now we're ready to execute. And there you see our output consists of 2 records for each of the records that we read from the SQL table that I showed earlier, with a null line in between each set of records. In this demonstration, I showed you how to pass a SQL command to the query component in real time. This component comes in a package of tasks and components called SSIS Plus that complements the standard SSIS. And that concludes this demo.